Palantir just dropped some serious cash into a completely unexpected place, an investment in AI airplane taxis. Many investors, myself included, are kind of scratching their heads wondering what the heck an enterprise software company is doing investing in a VTOL startup. I've seen a lot of people kind of angry about this. So I decided to take matters into my own hands here and get to the bottom of what is going on. And we're going to go deep in this one. Deep. And we're going to draw some connections that I guarantee you have not seen anywhere else on all of the internet. So we're going to start with an overview of the company that they just invested in, and then we're going to go over 5 reasons why this investment could make sense. And by the way, my name is Maher. In case you're new here, I cover all things stocks and finance news that makes you money. And you know what? Let's make a bet. By the end of this video, if I uncover something that you were previously unaware of, give this channel a subscribe. If you already knew everything that I cover in here, no subscribe, no harm, no foul. I completely understand. So let's go into the deal and the overview of this company, and then we'll get into the reasons why. Starting off with the deal. So if we go over to Yahoo Finance, we can see this article, eVTOL company Lilium announces SPAC merger. So there's also a SPAC merger in here. Basically a SPAC acquired Lilium, and then there were some investors to the price of $450 million. And those investors are Bal Gifford, BlackRock, huge, Tencent Holdings, huge, PIMCO, and Palantir Technologies, and others that we're unaware of. So $450 million, we don't know all the exact details. So for the sake of this overview, we're just going to say those 10 investors all invested $90 million each. Now, what is Lilium? Here's a little bit on the company, and in one sentence, they're basically a small, easy-to-use AI aircraft. If we take a look at their investor presentation, this will give us a lot of insights. Don't bother reading this whole thing. I'll give you the highlights that you need to know. That's why you come here and watch these videos. So first, this is a little bit on their SPAC acquisition with Kel, or Quell. I'm not sure exactly how that's spelled, but the transaction is expected to close Q2 2021. Now, if we go to page 11, we can see some of their plans with their short trip. So we can see 40 minutes, they're expecting that to cost about $200. 5 minutes, they're expecting that to cost about $65 and save 40 minutes of time. So it's real short trips, basically to skip traffic and ease up congestion is their beginning business model. That's how they're trying to get things in. Now, if we look at page 14, we can see what they expect for the industry size of moving people and things in the year 2040, and they're saying that should be between 1.5 and $3 trillion. Now, it's important to note here that they don't have a product that's actually in use yet, and I think a big bottleneck here is going to just be batteries and what's called the watt hours per kilogram. And if I scroll a little bit further here, we can see a little bit about their expectations for battery, and target for entry into service is their watt hours per kilogram of 330 to 350. And that's kind of their middle range 155 mile service. So this got me curious to see where exactly we're at right now. So I was looking up Tesla's current batteries because they're kind of the industry leader right now in batteries. And Tesla is coming out with a new battery relatively soon that will be capable of 380 watt hours per kilogram, which is a 54% improvement over what they currently have, which means what they currently have is 246 watt hours per kilogram. If we go back over to Lilium, we can see that's not even enough for their lowest tier. So it's going to be a multi-year investment to pay off, best case scenario. And I also found a tweet from Elon Musk talking exactly about eVTOLs and the battery size needed. And he said about 400 watt hours per kilogram would happen in 5 years from now. And this was tweeted back in 2019. So that still would be about 3 years from now. And that kind of lines up with Lilium's 2024 goals of really getting things ramped up here. So that's a little bit on the company. Now, why are they making this investment? I've come up with 5 reasons why they would do this. The first one I'm calling for the love of data. And that's because when I was researching this, I found out that they have a partnership with Airbus. And I was wondering how deep that this partnership ran, how big the partnership was, how much they were paying Palantir. And it's bigger than I expected because Airbus and Palantir actually have like a legitimate enterprise partnership. And that's through this service called Skywise. Airbus has partnered with Palantir, a technological leader, to build Skywise. Basically what they do is try and take the data from airline companies and make airlines more smart by saving costs, reducing delays, and increasing security. And Palantir even has on their websites, under one of their solutions, is this Skywise service. And here we can have some success stories. You can look up this site and get a little bit more information if you want. But in here it says that we're seeing value with the preventative application, Skywise, that is showing a 10% improvement in the delays that airlines used to handle. And here is a testimony from Allegiant Air that says Skywise has been very accurate in terms of alerting strategies for Allegiant Air, consequently helping us reduce delays, cancellations, and AOG scenarios, which is airplane on ground scenarios. Now, many of you ask me how I'm able to do such deep due diligence, and it really comes down to things like this. Like, I read AOG, I don't know what that means, and I look up what AOG means because sometimes that builds context. But in this case, you just learn a new word, airplane on ground. Now, the next reason why this makes sense, I'm titling Because Peter Thiel is Peter Thiel. And that's because I read Peter Thiel's book a while ago, 0 to 1, that talks about companies, his investment strategy, and just his overall thoughts in general. He's an absolute genius. But in that, he highlights 3 major things that he looks for or wants in companies, especially that he's investing in. The first one is that they bet on a contrarian truth. So a truth that very few people bet on, or that very few people believe in. A few examples of this would be something like Uber, where the contrarian truth would be, oh, you know, people don't want to ride in strangers' cars. Or Airbnb, people don't want to stay in strangers' homes or have strangers in their homes. He says that all failed companies fail to escape competition. So by betting in a contrarian truth, there's not very much competition, and competitors will ignore you long enough to get big enough to have this big moat around your company and then build an effective monopoly. Second, he says if you want to be a big business, start by dominating a small market. In the case of Lilium, they're doing so by real short delivery routes in select areas, like in the Northeast, in Florida, and in Germany. So they're kind of hitting both of those marks. And then third, he says, strive to be a monopoly. Anything less than striving to be a monopoly is aiming to be out of business. So we can take some points from his book that really give us reason as to why they may have made this investment. Next thing you need to know is that you can grab 2 free stocks with Webull with the link in the description. All you have to do is deposit $100. You get 2 free stocks, plus you'll be helping this channel out because they will send me a free stock as well. But the third reason, the real reason we're going to title this, Because Datamatrimony. Now, this is important because if we go back to the Lilium investor presentation, we can see they're partnered with Tier 1 aerospace suppliers and development partners. And on this list is Palantir, developer of the world's leading software for data-driven decisions and operations. Now, I wanted to say this because it shows that Palantir was already partnered with Lilium before this. So Lilium in some format was using Palantir software to build their product. Now this one doesn't make total sense because of course Palantir can have a customer that they don't also own a stake in. I mean, most of their customers they don't own a stake in, but it just shows that there is a deeper partnership here and I just wanted to highlight it. Next reason I'm titling Because Alex Karp Follows Wall Street Bets. Not really, but kind of. And this is because if we go back to the investment size of the investment in Lilium, the $90 million that we're estimating that Palantir put in, and then we look at their balance sheet here, and we can see that they have $2.05 billion in cash. If we take 90 million divided by 2.05 billion, that's 4.4% of their cash. So they took 4.4% of their cash and they put it in a risky bet. This really is no different than an individual doing the same, something like my risky bet into crypto that I took just the other day, and I turned $10,000 into $20,000. So they're risking 4.4% of their cash. They're investing it into something risky that they already are somewhat partnered with. And then the fifth and final reason is because blood runs deep. So I really was digging here to see what connections with Lilium are with Palantir that are deeper than we're seeing with just general partnerships and contracts and things like that. So I was taking a look at Lilium's board members here and I was looking them up in relation to Palantir. And one stands out right away. This isn't hiding at all. Tom Enders, CEO of Airbus. Well, there we go. Airbus. And if we look up Tom Enders here, this is his Wikipedia page, former chief executive of Airbus. So he was pretty high up in Airbus, the chief executive. And he is also on the board of directors of Lilium. And he says his favorite part about Lilium is that they started with a strong business case and focused from the start on inner city shuttle flights, which allow for higher passenger load factors. I believe with this, Lilium is solving the problem of notoriously low load factors in on-demand air taxi businesses in the past. Basically, they're able to do many more trips and maximize total revenue and profits, and this also brings ticket prices down. So that's very important. So we have a connection here with the CEO, the ex-CEO of Airbus, on the board of directors of Lilium, which says a good thing about Lilium in itself. But then going back here to the board of directors, I was looking up all these people and seeing if there was any relationships with Palantir, and then I found Nicholas Zenstrom. He's the founder of Skype. He's a billionaire. Let's pull up his Wikipedia page here real quick. Like I said, he founded Skype and Kazaa and has a technology investment firm, Atomico. Now I was digging into Atomico a little bit further here. You're gonna like this. I was digging into Atomico a little bit further here, and I found they had an investment in a company called Silk. So I was like, okay, they deal with data. This is kind of interesting. I go on Silk's website, and this is what I see. It's time to say goodbye. As some of you know, the Silk team joined Palantir over a year ago. And I'm like, oh, there we go. There's that smoke and gun golden connection that I was looking for and I can be excited about. So there's another deep, deep connection. So in summary, there's at least 5 good reasons why they may have done this. But there's still a lot of mystery as to, it just seems strange still. An air taxi robo company, wouldn't it make more sense to buy another government contractor and just swallow up some more contracts or something like that? I don't know. There's certain things that we just simply don't know the answer to yet, but I think this deep dive here helps build a better understanding as to at least some of the thought process behind all of this. So as always, if you appreciate this video, give it a like, give it a subscribe. I would like to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.